Who pays what closing costs on a VA loan can be very confusing. Is it the buyer? Is it the seller? And what's that one cost that a buyer cannot pay? Hi everybody, my name is Bob Baird. I'm with Coldwell Banker Realty Gundaker here in St. Louis. And we're going to talk today a little bit about closing costs and as they relate to veterans. And I have my notes here in front of me because this can get a bit confusing. There's a lot of detail, but hang in there, this won't take long. So the first thing you know is with a VA loan, a veteran does not have to pay the down payment. They can put money down if they want, but they don't have to. And the second most important thing is with a VA guaranteed loan, the veteran does not pay PMI or private mortgage insurance, which can be as much as $100 to $150 a month over the life of the loan. That is a tremendous saving to a veteran, and we are very lucky to have this benefit. So closing costs for a veteran typically run about 1% to 3% of the value of the home. And on a bigger home, it can be a little more, maybe 3 to 5%. But that's roughly the total amount of closing costs you'll pay. To know exactly what you're going to pay, the lender who pre-qualifies you can fill you in when you let him know which property you are interested in. The seller can pay all of the veteran's closing costs if you can have a realtor negotiate this for you. And one of the ways to do that, we often do this, is we will escalate the price, or we will raise the price by the estimate of the closing costs, and therefore the closing costs are paid for by the seller, but they're getting their money in an increased price for the home. This is commonly done, and it helps the veteran get into a home with very little money out of pocket. So what do the closing costs consist of? Well, there's quite a few, but they're pretty common across all transactions. They include the VA funding fee, which I have explained in an earlier video. There are loan points, discount points that a lender may charge. That depends on the lender. A credit report will be ordered by the lender, and that will need to be one of your closing costs, although that is not terribly significant. Payment of any credits that you may have, and by that I mean if you have outstanding credit card debt and the like, there may, or a second mortgage on an existing home, there may be a requirement to pay those off, or any judgments that may be against you. Those will likely need to be cleared up before you can get the property closed, and so you'll have to pay those. The other typical closing costs are insurance on the property, what we call hazard insurance. You have to pay the first year's premium. After that, every month it's collected out of your mortgage payment to pay the next year. But the first year you have to pay up front. Also, any real estate taxes that might be due given when you take possession of the property. In other words, the seller will be responsible for the real estate taxes up until you take the property, and then you're responsible for those after that. There may be state and local taxes as well. There will be title insurance, which guarantees that you have a clear title and that there are no other parties that can step in and say, hey, there was no right by the seller to sell that property. I own part of it, or the like. Title insurance and the title search make sure that the property is free and clear and yours. And then there will be some minor recording fees. And again, if you don't have enough money for the closing costs, an experienced agent like myself or my wife, we can try to get the seller to agree to pay those closing costs. Sometimes they'll pay them outright. Sometimes we need to increase the offer to cover them, but that is something that's commonly done. There are some upfront costs you need to be aware of. These are, I wouldn't call these closing costs because they're paid for upfront. The first one is earnest money. When you make an offer, the seller wants to know that you are sincere. And so you put down, typically, at least in Missouri, 1% of the purchase price. It can be as much as 2%, but usually 1%. So on a $200,000 home, that would be $2,000 you would put down as earnest money. Now, this money is not a fee. It doesn't go away. It actually gets applied to the loan and lowers your loan by whatever that amount is. And so you can almost consider it a down payment, but in the world of VA guaranteed loans, we don't call it a down payment. Another is an appraisal. The lender will require that the property be appraised. This typically costs between $450 to $500, and the lender may require it be paid at the time it's performed, or they may roll it into your closing costs. But you should be prepared for it to be part of your upfront costs. The other is inspections. You'll definitely want to have a building inspection performed. There are many reasons for this. Not only do you want to make sure that the property is one you really do want to buy, but when you do an inspection, at least in Missouri, that gives you an opportunity to get out of the deal should you decide you don't want to go forward. Actually, if you don't want to go forward for any reason, as long as you do the building inspection, you can get out of the deal and get your earnest money back. But the other reason inspections are important is because it allows you to know the current state of the property. And most often what will then happen is you will ask the seller to make certain repairs. And that's a negotiation, but oftentimes they do some or all of the repairs. And so the inspections can actually pay for themselves by having the seller take care of things you would normally have to pay for after you took possession. So that's it. I hope this explains the closing costs and the upfront costs. If you have any questions, please reach out to my wife and I. We'd be happy to help you. We work with veterans all the time. We love putting veterans in homes. If you check out our website, you will see we have an entire section devoted to just veterans. As I mentioned, I am a veteran. I spent 20 years in the Navy, and nothing warms my heart more than helping a fellow veteran purchase a home for their family. So stay safe, and until next time, good luck.